We're going to look at the first 85 lines of this epic poem. Um, first, the first the first 85 lines starts with the Danish dynasty, particularly Shield Chieftain. The So the Spear Danes in days gone by, and the kings who ruled them had courage and greatness. We have heard of those princes' heroic campaigns. There was Shield Chieftain, scourge of many tribes, a record of mead benches, rampaging among foes. The terror of hall troops had come far. So the story starts with Shield Chieftain and the Danish dynasty, which is strange because Beowulf is not Danish. So what do we know about Shield Chieftain? He is the founder of the Danish dynasty, which is when the actual action of the story takes place. Hrothgar, his great grandson, is the leader or the king. What we know about him? Well, he comes from nowhere. Shield is as a orphan put out in a boat with a bunch of treasure on it and pushed out into the waves. He's just launched almost like a sacrifice, someone offering him to the gods. He's found by the Danes and becomes, in later years, the wrecker of mead benches and the terror of the hall troops. Note, there's almost something that's going to be, a reminiscence of the way that Grendel will be described later. This talk about the theme of perhaps violence here, the cycle of violence. His name means a couple of things. One, shield, the protector of the Danes. Like a shield, he protects by conquering his neighbors. He protects them from his neighbors by conquering them and forcing them to pay tribute. He is the record of mead benches. But two, and perhaps more importantly, sheaf son, or son of sheaf. Sheaf is wheat or barley. This might make him a sort of a fertility god, the son of wheat. Crops, springs, food was extremely important to these people for survival. So Shield also protects them because he ensures the crops will return. He, as being the founder of the Danish dynasty, is related to a fertility god, meaning that he will both protect them from his enemies, but protect them from starvation. Extremely important. The text begins really with his funeral. There are four major funerals in Beowulf. Shield's the first one. Beowulf is the last one. So it starts and ends with a funeral. Shield is put in a boat loaded with treasure and pushed out into the waves. And then we have the genealogy of the Danish clan. You have Beo, his son, Halfdane, his grandson, and Halfdane. You get this idea of Halfdane. His mother may have been Swedish. This is going to be important when we look at the tribes involved in this story, which will be the Swedes, which will be the Danes, which will also be the Geats. The reliance between the Danes and Swedes could be important, and it could be one of the reasons why Beowulf later comes to help Hrothgar. After Halfdane, we have Herogard, his eldest son, Hrothgar, who becomes who is the king when the story takes place, and Helga. But there's also a daughter. That daughter is married to the Swedish king. So there's a couple connections with Sweden with the Danes, which are extremely important. Hrothgar, being the current king, the fortunes of war favored him, which means not only did he take Shield's battle prowess further, but he's conquered even more people. Again, the idea of Beowulf as a perhaps theme about war and peace and the cycle of violence begins at the beginning. Begins with Shield, but also with Hrothgar. Hrothgar, because he's so wealthy and because he grew a mighty army, he decides that he is going to build a great mead hall, meant to be a wonder of the world forever. sort of like Camelot, and it's in this mead hall. He's going to celebrate his warriors and celebrate his, the people and celebrate, the Danish dynasty in essence. There is a foreshadow, and the mead hall is called Herat. Herat, it means heart as in deer, which is a symbol of the king. But there's a foreshadow in these first 80 lines. So at the end of the first 80 lines, the actual text reads, "It's garbled, wide and hide, awaiting a barbarous burning." So this foreshadow allusion that there's later on, we'll see that the Danes are in a feud, and Hrothgar's daughter is going to be a failed peace pledge. We'll talk about peace pledges later. And because there's this the Hethelbards that are the group that they're having problems with, there's this foreshadow of Herat, the greatest mead hall in the world, being burnt. Again, the cycle of violence comes back. All right, so those are the first 85 lines. After the first 85 lines, we get the introduction to Grendel, and we will start that tomorrow.